So now let's talk about for loop. It's same as while loop, and we can give it multiple statements to execute at multiple number of times. But before that, let me give you an overview of what is list. Just an overview, but not the advanced level list, because with the list I want to show you what is for loop. So what is list? Just like a variable, we can define a variable to give it a value. Same as we can define a list variable, and I can give it a sequence of values, and I can write a square brackets, and within the square brackets I can define different values. I can write 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, now this list single variable contain all these values. Alright, and first value have all these values contain an index. Alright, the first value starts with the 0 index, second value is at the 1 index, third value is at second index, and fourth value is at 3 index. If I want to print any particular value, I will write print and I will write list, and within the square brackets I need to define and give it the particular index. Alright, if I want to print out 2 which is at index 0, I can write 0 right here. Okay, so let's run our app, and you can see that it has printed 2 because 2 is at 0th index. If I want to print out 4 value which is at second index, so I will write 2. Okay, so let's run it. So you can see that our 4 has printed because at 2 index we have a value 4. So this is how our lists work. So that's it for now. I will talk about and get back to my list again later on. So let's come back to our for loop. So I have defined this list. Alright, and let's say I have further values, and our list can contain hundreds and thousands of values. Let's say our list contains all the students in a university, and university can contain 100, 1000, 2000, 10,000 students. So we can't write multiple print statements. Instead, we define a list of all the students, and we write a loop to print out all the student names, student roll numbers using the loop. Alright, so I will write for, and I will write num right here. Okay, and inside the num I will write in, and I will write the name of my list. Okay, and after that again I will add a colon, and I will press enter, having a space before this cursor, and I will print num. Okay, so now let's run this app, and you can see that it has printed out all the values from 2 to 8, all the values from this list. So how it's working? This for num in means that it will keep on executing unless all the elements of the list are ends. At first time when this for loop will execute, it's gonna take out the first value from this list, and it's gonna store the first value inside this num. Okay, once it will store this value inside this num variable, and then this num will be printed. Okay, and next time it will fetch out the second value which is 3, and it will store that value in this variable. You can name it a variable name which is num. We can write anything right here. Okay, but this in and for should be as it is. These are the keywords. Okay, so let's write num. Alright, so this is how we can fetch out different values, and we can also write strings right here. Let's say that I want to write apple, I want to write mango, and I want to write let's say banana. Okay, now let's run our app. You can see that it has printed out all the strings from this list. Okay, so and we can write a for loop to print out all the values. And there are other ways we can also iterate our for loop right here. So for iterating through the for loop, we can iterate through the index of the for loop. So let's say that I want to bring back my integers right here, and I want to change the structure of my for loop, and I want to write I, which is stands for index in, and I can call a function which is range, and I can write length fruits. Not fruits, it is the list. Okay, because I added the fruits, so I had fruits in my mind. Okay, so I have this list. Now this I will contain the index number of each of these values, all right, but not the values itself. Means that the index of 2 is 0, so I will contain 0 at first. 3 has an index 1, and I will contain 1 at the second time of this iteration. Okay, so I have an index. I can't write directly I right here, and if I run my file now, it's gonna print out the index number of all these values. You can see that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the total 7 values starting with 0 ending with 6. Alright, in order to print out individual values using an index, I need to define list, and within the square brackets I can define an index number. Okay, first time it will have a 0, so the 0 it will check out the value within the 0th index, and which is 2, and it's gonna print out 2 right here. And I'm gonna run my app, and you can see that now it has printed out the values that are at the specific index in my list. Alright, so this is how you can define and print out different values. Now I want to write a code just like I define a code in my while loop. I showed you how to define a while loop and nested while loop using printing out a in a pyramid shape. So let's write our for loop to see and practice different exemplary thing. So let's say I have defined a list, and I'm gonna give it a random values 7, 2, 4, 8, 4, 7. Alright, let's add space after that. Okay, and now I want to sort these values. So what do I mean by sorting? Sorting means 2, 4, 4, 7, 7, 8. I want these values to be in the ascending order. Okay, so I will write a nested for loop. So first I will write for, and I will write I in, and same as I did range len list, and I will add a colon, and inside it I will add another for loop, and I will write j in range len and list. Alright, and inside my inner for loop I will write an if condition, and inside this if condition I will check if list I is less than list j, then I need to define a variable above that, var, and I will write equals to, let's say I have 0. Okay, and inside this if condition I want to swap both the values. So in order to swap both the values, first I will bring the value inside my var variable. So I will write list I, and list I equals to list j, and at the end I will write list j equals to var. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now let's we have sorted out our list. In order to see the result, we need to come right here again back, and we need to print out all the values from this list. Okay, so I will write a for again, and I will print out the list again right here. Okay, so now let's run our app, and you can see that it has printed out 2 4 4 7 7 8, all the values from this list. But if we go above and see the values, the first value is 7, but it has printed out 2. It has sorted out all the values in ascending order, and this is the algorithm called bubble sort. If you already know how bubble sort works, I would like you to pick up the pencil and copy and try to check out that how it's working. So now let's check that how it's working right here. So first of all, I'm fetching out the index of my first value. Okay, when interpreter will check this line, it's gonna store 0 inside I, and once it will store I inside it, it will come inside the body of this for loop, and this is the whole body. Okay, and it's gonna store the first index of this list, and I contains 0, j contains 0. Okay, and after that I have defined a variable contains 0 right here, and after that I have defined an if condition and checking out if the list first value is less than list first value. At start it's not less than, because 7 is not less than 7. Okay, so it will not get true, and our interpreter will not come inside the body of this if condition. Okay, and it will go back to this for loop again, and it's gonna store the index of second value from this list in my j variable. Okay, and j now contains 1 and I contains 0. Okay, and var contains 0. Now list I contains 0 means the value of the 0th index, which is 7, and it's gonna check out if 7 is less than 2, because j contains 1 and at the first index of this list we have 2. Okay, so if 7 is less than 2, no, it will not come inside this list. It will go back to this for loop. It's gonna store out 3 right here. Okay, and it's gonna store out 2 right here. At the 2 index we have 4. Okay, and at the now it has a 1, and we're gonna check out if 7 is less than 4, false, and again this for loop will execute, and it's gonna store out the index of this value, which is 3, and j now contains 3. Okay, now when it will come right here in my if condition, the list of I contains 0. Okay, and j contains 3 means that if the value at the 0th index, which is 7, is less than the value at the 3rd index, which is 8. So if 7 is less than 8, then execute these lines of code. So our condition gets true, and these lines of conditions will execute. So I'm storing the value 7 in my var. Okay, and I'm storing the value this 8 in the first index of this list. Okay, so now this at the first index we have 8 after executing this line. Okay, and at the 3rd line I'm storing back var, which is 7, at the 4th index, which is the 3rd index actually in terms of lists. Okay, so this lines of code is called swapping. Okay, if we want to interchange the values of 2 variables, we can write these lines of code, and this is a kind of a confusing way, but in Python provides a bit more easy way to swap 2 values. Okay, if I want to swap the values from any variable to another variable, we can have a 3rd variable. But in Python, let's say that list I comma list j, and after that equals to list j comma list I. Alright, let's add space after that. Alright, now if I run my app again, it's gonna again print out the sorted value. It means that the its value is gonna store in this value and its value is gonna store in this value. It's same as that we are shifting 7 at the position of 8 and we are shifting 8 at the position of 7, and the same will go unless we will execute all the indices of this list, and when this for loop will execute till the end. Okay, and this is called bubble sorting. Make sure you pick up the copy and pencil and dry run this code at every line, just the way our interpreter is looking at this code. I have given you a start that how to dry run this code. You need to keep on dry run unless you end this code, just like our interpreter or compiler is gonna end this code. So I hope that you have got the idea how to work with nested for loops, nested while loops. And next we need to figure out what are the different other ways, different technical ways to break the for loop, to break the while loop using break statements. And we will also talk about continue statement, and there is another statement called pass statement, and I will also talk about that.